What's up guys, Laneface here, and to cap off the month of June, I want to talk about some of the information we've gotten over the past month, mainly regarding the future of the Final Fantasy VII Remake and what we can expect moving forward. I'm also going to talk a little bit about some people's complaints about the remake and the changes they're making from the original game. So to start it off, I'm going to read some of the recent tweets Square Enix have put out. The first one reads, "The first game in the project takes place in the eclectic city of Midgar. We chose to focus on Midgar as it best represents the world of 7 as a location more than any other. Midgar is full of imagination with a myriad of influences and surprises around every corner." So let's look at this from a big picture standpoint. Let's say the first game really does take 30 to 60 hours to complete, depending on if you get all the items and do all the side quests and all that stuff. And they expand on Midgar just a crazy amount. That's still just a fraction of the game. Think about all the other things you do on just Disc 1 alone. You got the Calm flashback, getting to Junon, traveling across the ocean to Costa del Sol, going to Gold Saucer twice, Cosmo Canyon, Nibelheim, Rocket Town, Temple of the Ancients. I guess I'm a little worried now that there's either going to be way too many parts or that they're going to rush through certain parts. If they are having the first game go entirely to Midgar, it seems possible that we could have, just from Disc 1 alone, 3 episodes at least. I know I said in previous videos that it's still possible we could only pay $60 for the entire game, but I don't think there's any real chance of that happening. And now I'm worried I'm going to have to pay upwards of $200 or $300 just to play the entire game. I should also mention that they recently clarified a statement that was made earlier that the first installment, if you bought the disc version, is going to be 2 discs long. What? For one, I thought we got rid of multi-disc games a long time ago. Secondly, it's 2 discs long just for Midgar. So I guess if you bought the digital edition, prepare to have your entire hard drive just be Final Fantasy VII. The next tweet says, "Due to the work already done on the first game, we anticipate development of the second game to be more efficient. We have our own internal schedule and plan, but for now we'd like to focus our information on the first game in the project." So this makes sense. Obviously they figured out what the battle system and what all the game mechanics will look like, with maybe the exception of summons, since we don't get our first summon until after Midgar. But I would expect the next episodes to be done much sooner than the first one. They go on to say, "While the development team finishes the first game in the project, we are continuing to plan and outline the overall volume of content for the second." So they still haven't decided what all they're going to put into the second game, but I think that the next part will give us a much better idea of how many episodes or parts we can expect overall. It could be that they really wanted to focus on Midgar because they want us to be completely comfortable with the battle system and game mechanics before we venture off into the open world. Final Fantasy VII Remake goes much deeper into the world and characters of Final Fantasy VII than ever before. It's a huge volume of work and data to reimagine this world. Each game in the project will have a volume of content comparable to a standalone Final Fantasy. Which we've heard this before, so again, maybe the first episode is focusing on understanding everyone's backstory better and getting possibly more details into every character's life that we didn't get in the original game, which is why this episode is only the events at Midgar. It's more of an introduction, and once all that's done, we can focus on more of the action and story of the game. Next, I want to talk about the interview done with Yoshinori Kitase, the producer of the remake and the director of the original Final Fantasy VII. I've read a lot of comments in my recent videos about this particular topic, so I thought I'd address it first. He says, "Our goal with this project is to build Final Fantasy VII for a new era. We are not making a straight one-to-one copy or a simple remaster of the game. For the original core members of the development team, simply recreating the original game with improved graphics wasn't enough to get us invested and excited about remaking 7. To return, we want to go beyond the original, telling a deeper story and providing a modern gaming experience. We really want to go above and beyond what is expected of a remake." So to put it simply, some people aren't going to like this, but this is a remake, not a remaster. If all you're looking for is the exact same game with better graphics, then I would suggest you play it on PC. There are mods around with much better graphics, as well as making the game more difficult. If you haven't heard of the New Threat mod, I would suggest trying that out. But with the ever-advancing realism of video games, things need to change. I'm a guy who grew up playing turn-based RPGs and I really enjoy them. In fact, I'm replaying Grandia 2 right now. But it doesn't really make sense anymore if you're trying to be more realistic in your games. Going back to what Kataze said, a lot has changed since the release of the original Final Fantasy VII. Back then we didn't have access to things like voice acting, performance and motion capture, or close-up cameras outside of cutscenes. For Final Fantasy VII Remake, there's greater emphasis on character storytelling through the use of these techniques, as well as some other new tech. This allows us to make these characters more expressive than ever, enhancing the levels of immersion and enjoyment through performance. In Remake, we are giving voice to the original Final Fantasy VII for the first time. By bringing in a new generation of actors, we hope to provide the best experience for original fans and new players. So I guess you have to ask yourself, why do you like Final Fantasy VII in the first place? For me personally, it's the first game I ever played where I totally fell in love with the story. Up until that point, everything I played was pretty basic. Go save the princess, go kill the bad guys. But this was different. Yes, the end goal was to save the planet, but every character was doing it for a different reason than the other. And even though I didn't fully understand everything that was going on back then, I still loved it. And now, after what will be 23 years since the original game came out, I'll finally get to relive that story with so much more detail and backstory on characters we hardly got to know. That's why I'm excited for this game. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for me, but let me know down in the comments section what you think about this first part only being in Midgar. Are you worried about that, or is that something you're looking forward to? And if you still want to rant about the battle system being different, you can go ahead and talk about that too. Don't forget to like the video if you made it this far, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you next time.